So I found that section of script in my EBAP materials 37222 or 2022, and it only has the leaving public meeting section of it. Other than
Perfect.
that,
Nope, that's perfect. Sorry,
Oh, cool.
I may have said the wrong terminology.
So which one am I supposed to read?
The leaving the non-public session and reconvening open session at 12:05 p.m. I just pretty much did it for you.
I appreciate that because I'm still clicking on things going, I know it's in here. I know
It's
you
all
guys
right.
sent it to me.
Yep, no, it's totally fine. All right, so Champus, is the phone unmuted?
I just unmuted it.
Okay. All right. So we're on the agenda item number 8. It is proposed that in case number 20-9555 to offer a settlement agreement of which the revocation still stands. However, the $2,500 civil $2,500 of the $5,000 civil penalty will be stayed until such time as the applicant reapplies for any license in Oregon.
This is Seven Wolf, so moved.
This is Lisa Chambliss, I second.
A motion has been made. I will call roll. Matthew Holmes, aye. Seven Wolf,
Aye.
Lisa Chambliss,
Aye.
Audrey Jones,
Aye.
Ryan Othis.
Aye.
Okay, so on last item, other board business. Anybody have any other board business they need to bring up or want to bring up?
This is Matthew Holmes. I wanted to discuss to me, it looks like a little bit of a gap in some legal structure for piercing. And as we discovered a week ago, it appears that it is completely technically legal to take used jewelry as long as you can verify the milling certs and have a copy of it and do a fresh piercing on a different person with it. I would really like to hear the rest of the board's thoughts on that. I personally would love to work on a way of closing that loophole. We cannot reuse needles. We do not reuse things that are entered into the skin or have potential for damage. It seems like a fairly dangerous thing to me, but if anybody else has some information on that, I'd love to hear it.
This is Seven Wolf. In our studio, we do not reuse used jewelry as it can be scratched up, marred up, etc. Even if it is re-sterilized, it can still cause irritation to a brand new piercing, and trying to form that fistula causes irritation and possibly other potential hazardous, infections and things like that. If anything is caught in that marred up piece of the metal or material that the autoclave isn't getting to because it's so deep embedded.
So this is so we kind of noticed, because when you write rules, you think everybody's on the same page as you are, right? Until somebody challenges it and says, well, it doesn't specifically say that I can't do it. It's like, well, you're right, it doesn't. So it's a policy thing. So Seven, just because your shop doesn't do it doesn't mean it's not being able to be done in the rule. So we need to get the rule extremely clear. If that's what your guys' intent is to say, hey, you can't be, and here's why, and we can say here's why on record so that people understand, but if that's something you guys all agree needs to be addressed, then obviously we can't make a decision today, but one of the decisions we can make is to open up rules to get that fixed. And so we can't make any decisions today without, putting notice on the agenda so that the public knows what we're talking about and what decisions we're making. So what we can do is we can get it on the agenda for the next board meeting, and Sammy can start working on drafting, getting all that stuff ready. And that will be another rule, but we're going to open them separate than any other rules. So we're going to try really hard moving forward now with all the regulations that we have to do for racks and all that stuff, is to keep rules, even if they're on a separate path, but they're going to be separate because you're going to have different types of people in communities affected by a piercing rule than you are by a rule that relates to electrology. So, but we can work on that. We can have Sammy bring that up if that's something that you guys are interested in. And it sounds like Matthew and 7 are. So, but
Yeah, I'm in support of that. This is Ryan with this. Sorry. Yeah.
So Ryan, do you do tattooing and piercing or just tattooing?
No, I just do tattooing. I had taken a piercing apprenticeship 17 years ago, and it has evolved quite a bit since the time that I had done that. But the first piercing I did, the sound, I was like, nope. I walked away from it as quickly as possible. So I need a loud noise buzzing in my ear so I don't have to hear that.
Gotcha.
I love
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
All right. So Sammy will work on that. She's still listening. So if any of you by chance have any information that you would like her to know, whether there's any, and you can just email it to one of us and we'll make sure she gets it, or you can email her directly. But if you know of any information out there, like documentations of why to not reuse, jewelry, you can't sterilize it, like Seven was saying, not just your verbal, and your understanding, but if there's actual document out there somewhere that Sammy can look for, that would be fabulous. I know that there's a National Piercing Association. I don't know if they have anything. Sammy can go look, but if you guys know, because you guys know that, hopefully, know their stuff a lot, can find things a lot quicker than we might be able to, but we can look ourselves too. But we'll get that on the agenda. But like I said, if you have any information between now and then, just email it to one of us. We'll make sure Sammy gets it. Yes, Ryan.
Okay, yeah, this is Ryan with this. I wanted to try to open up a conversation about the laws surrounding tattooing, specifically with pigment safety and efficacy and aftercare procedures. There's been a lot of data that's come out in the past 7 or 8 years surrounding pigment safety and efficacy, and there's zero regulation currently in the United States surrounding the pigment manufacture, distribution, or even use in tattooing. The data is pointing towards some startling things, and I would like to at least maybe take that into account when we're deciding about different brands, processes, or other applications inside of the industry to ensure customer safety, client safety. And on the aftercare side, the blanket approach to using certain products or techniques right now does not, it's inherently biased because there's a one-size-fits-all application of aftercare after a tattoo procedure, which doesn't take into account the individual, their lifestyle, or ethnic background. And we've seen massive, I've been doing a lot of research on this over the past few years. We've seen a massive discrepancy in the healing and ability of people of color and their tattoos specifically after being done by less than qualified, less than educated, or less experienced artists. And this is something that happens throughout the Western world. So if we could kind of be the forerunners on this to push some better information out into the public about how to approach things like this, I think that would be wise.
Sammy's diligently taking notes. Audrey.
Oh, yeah, hand raising.
Hi. I wanted just to give a little information to the board because I know that I am a new board member, even though it's been, I think, a year since I started participating, just to kind of give a little background into how I came about getting involved and how it has to do with some of the things I'm passionate about as far as education and increasing licensing in Oregon. Because my original role with the board was actually not to be a board member. I applied to be on the RAC talking about the rules that affect electrologists. And my initial jumping into that position was kind of spurred by getting in touch with Kate Kaufman from Brave Space. And after she was asking if I could take clients, and I had a wait list, and I immediately became kind of passionate about getting more people involved in this industry because it was breaking my heart getting multiple calls and emails a day from people that are desperate for electrolysis and me having to say, I can't take you, and I don't know anyone that can take you. And so after being involved with the RAC, I was asked to possibly apply as a board member since there weren't electrologists on the board. And I also made it kind of clear that my first passion is getting the pathway to electrolysis more open because we need electrologists. And so I just don't want that ability of mine to kind of fall by the wayside by being involved with the board. And I hope that I'll be able to still be involved in the RACs. And I'm not sure if that's legal or not because of what when you become a board member, you might not be able to be involved in the racks, but I just want to make sure that this is a situation that's addressed because it's affected my clients. It's also affected, my ability to expand the business in Oregon because of the rules that were in place when I graduated school. There was no practical exam for 2 months, which is why I currently practice in Vancouver. And if we can make some of those rules better for people that are wanting to learn, then hiccups like this wouldn't happen. I've known so many electrologists that moved to Vancouver because when it was a couple of years ago, you couldn't take your practical exam at the school. And then now that it is allowed at the school, there is no school. So I know I'm kind of rambling, but I just wanted it to be known that I'm very passionate about getting more people involved in this industry, and I will do whatever I can within, the con space of trying to run a business and also being a mother and whatnot. But I don't want this to fall by the wayside.
Yeah. So Audrey, so a couple things. 100% agree. The role of a board member, though, is a little bit different. And so you're going to want to be really careful about you as a board member. Your role is not about promoting the profession. It's about obviously making access, if there's barriers that, that's exactly what you're doing. But you want to kind of keep away from that, promoting your profession or make any statements or any kind of information given that, we'll all financially benefit if we do A, B, and C. So, you're just that mindset. And you cannot be a part of the RAC. And the reasoning of that is what the RAC does is they get all this information and they get a proposed, like a draft, and they give it to you guys. You actually then get to decide whether you like that or not, or you want to change it, because ultimately you guys vote on it. So they're just giving you a draft. Here's all the things we did, and Samuel will give you a whole summary of it. Here's all the things they discussed. Here's the paperwork, blah, blah, blah. But Audrey, you ultimately get to vote on that rule. And so you ultimately get to make that law into place. So that's what the intent of the RAC is, to get information and ideas and thoughts from people who are not on the board, who do not get to make a decision, who then give you all as much of an educated decision as possible. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I think I wasn't told that going into this, and then found out after I was appointed to the board that I wouldn't be able to have those discussions. And I understand that the board is at that higher level than the RAC, but I think it's really important that I want to be involved in those discussions because I have a different point of view than some people, and I don't want it to be like, oh, Audrey decided this, because I don't think that's fair. I think it should be discussed. And that's where I'm just having these conflicting feelings, and I just want to be completely I don't really know my position here yet because it's only been a couple meetings that I've participated, and things have been kind of so wishy-washy back and forth about this problem that we're having in the electrolysis community, and I don't know what's the right thing to say or what's not the right thing to say or where to bring up these issues. So I appreciate everyone's direction, and please don't hesitate to correct me if I say something that's not my position, but I also want to be very clear about what my intentions were when I was getting involved. And then now I've kind of escalated into this position, and I feel like some of my initial priorities to help this community that were, it's being negatively affected might not be where I thought I'd be able to help. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think, but ultimately you will be the one who gets to help, because because ultimately you guys are going to vote on these. You're going to put them in place, I was going to tell you something and I totally lost it because you went on to another subject.
Sorry.
Oh, no, you're totally fine. All of the racks are recorded. So I'm not saying you have to, but you would have the option to go and listen to a rack. Mind you, sometimes those racks can be 4 to 5 hours long. But there'll be a recording, and mind you, Sammy what she'll do is she'll say, we talked about this is where they couldn't get there, or they did, or she'll totally keep you up to speed, but you will also be able, because they're all public record. So just because you're not attending those racks, you'll still be able to listen to it. So you'll still be able to understand what their debate was or what their conversation was, or anything like that. So okay. Yes, and we want you to stay informed. We want you truly, knowing what they talked about and what they discussed, and that's what Sammy does. But we'll have the recording. So if you want to listen to them, you'll be more than welcome to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Audrey, I know you have a lot of documentation and we still have that on file. So we will be looking to you as the board member to give us information if we have a, blank space or we need more information. We'll be looking to you as a subject matter expert. So you won't be
Okay.
totally out of the loop, I promise.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay. And Sammy, you got Ryan's ideas, right? You wrote those down?
Yep, I had a long conversation with Ryan last week. Aftercare was on my agenda.
Perfect. Any other things you guys want to talk about before we get logging off?
This is Matthew Holmes. I've got to admit, listening to Audrey and the two speakers we had, it is so tempting to be an electrologist. You guys got some passion about what you're doing. It makes it feel like I could be such an amazingly helpful person to a large community group. So keep rocking it, you guys. I haven't even thought about changing my career path in 20 years.
We'd welcome you.
This is Ryan Othis again. I'm wondering, is there anything preventing me from, because I don't know very much about all of this electrology stuff. I'd love to get more informed. Like, what are the limitations of me reaching out to try and understand or get informed? Like, where can I go? Where can't I go? And what can I do to get better educated with this?
So for one, you can go anywhere you want. The only thing that you can't do is talk to these guys as a group. Because that's a board. Then you're having a board meeting and you have board discussions. So as long as you are staying away from talking to these guys all at once, you're okay. But go out there. No, I wouldn't do that either.
Okay,
you're welcome to talk to Audrey and just and then truly focus on electrology and that aspect of it, and just stay away from anything. Well, at the board, we're going to do.
Okay.
But Audrey can also send you information, but yes, the more you understand electrology, the better. And the best thing to do is, Audrey, if you were to send us information that you think would be very helpful,
Yes.
Sammy then can send it out to the board members so that they all have the same thing.
Yeah.
It'd be better that way. And then there's no accidental of you guys all like chatting with each other's. And Ryan, if you have questions.
No, go. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Sylvie. I think the letter that I helped Kate draft a couple of years ago, I think that was sent out to the board. I'm not sure if it can be resent, but that really helps kind of encompass part of what I was talking about. And then also coming from Kate's perspective of like the insurance side of things, which is a whole nother issue. But as far as electrolysis goes, I can even maybe draft another email or something like that and send it to you guys and kind of give you my perspective on it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is Ryan Othis again. Sorry, if you wouldn't mind, I'm still interested. Like, I know about the procedural side of stuff. I think is going to be really interesting, but I'm really wondering about the pitfalls that are actually occurring in Oregon. Like, how many electrologists we need, right? Like the communities that they're affecting, like the personal side, like the end user versus like the process in between to try and mend these things. Because like, if I don't understand who this is affecting, I'm completely clueless right now, right?
Right, and the bigger picture is that it's even way beyond the trans community. It's clients that are suffering from PCOS or hirsutism, which is basically unwanted hair growth, in places that people don't normally have hair growth. So for like me, if I had a full beard right now, that's not a typical amount of hair growth that I would grow. And how do you get rid of that? And then also clients of color, that's another huge issue. There's not a lot of electrologists that are trained or have even just the opportunity to have experience working on a client of color. And so like, there's so many things, but I would love to inform you and get you kind of up to date. So it's not something where it's like, we're just giving you these little blips of like, this is an issue and believe us.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yep. So Audrey, just send that to Sammy. Sammy will then blind copy it out to all the boards. So then everybody has the same stuff, but anything and everything that you wanted to share, give it to us. We'll get it out. And then Sammy can also use it.
I'll draft something.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's also discussions too. So just for you who don't know a whole lot about electrology, so there's the laser hair removal. So when Sammy had made a comment before about the advanced estheticians, but it's a completely different. So laser hair removal is not necessarily permanent. And then laser hair removal also is not to be done on skin that is, even if you're tan, it's not to be done because it'll take the pigment out of your skin. So let alone people of color. So so people say, well, why don't they just go get the laser treatments? They're two completely different ways of doing things and have way different side effects and all that stuff. So the electrologist is truly the only way to actually remove the hair permanently and to be able to do it on all different skin tones. Obviously, you need to know what you're doing.
Too.
And hair colors too.
Yeah.
Yes. Laser hair removal won't like your real blonde ish hairs.
Mhm.
Yeah, it goes after that dark color. So if the hair's not dark, it's not really going to get it. And then if your skin's dark, it's going to make it not dark.
Well, and there's certain lasers that are designed for safety of up to some levels of a Fitzpatrick. So like, I don't know if people are familiar with the Fitzpatrick scale, but like some lasers are designated as safe for darker skin tones. However, you are correct in the statement that laser is not technically a permanent removal. So when it comes to things like surgery prep of like the genital site for clients that are going through gender affirming surgeries, then you don't know if that hair is going to come back 5 years from now, and that could create infections, surgery complications, and once that surgery has been performed, it's almost impossible to go in and retrieve hairs that are now inside areas of the body that are hard to get to. So there's a lot of implications, and I'll do my best to try to draft up something pretty detailed about everything that's going on in my brain and send it to you guys.
That would be perfect. All right. Any other discussions or things that we want to look forward for in the future? Okay. Well, then, Matthew, you do have a adjournment script somewhere in your materials. Hopefully.
This is Matthew Holmes. Yeah, I've got it right here. The Board of Electrologists and Body Arts Practitioners meeting is adjourned at 12:26 p.m. on 3/7/2022. We did not go overnight.
All right, April, you want